Welcome along, one and all, and welcome back to PSGL PSF3, brought to you by GT Omega. We've had a brief break from the action in the last couple of weeks, but we are primed and ready to get the unforgettable show that is PSF3 back underway. And what a venue to mark that return, said to be the jewel in the crown of the Formula One calendar. We'll be treated to the Monaco Grand Prix tonight. To take you through the action on track tonight, you'll be treated to your usual PSF3 commentary lineup on myself, Daka, and alongside me, as always, is my good friend Ghost. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Daka. I'm doing well. It's not often that you get to commentate on a league race in Monaco because so many leagues are so scared of it. Yeah, so it's good to be here. It may be a track that lacks in overtakes as much as other tracks, but it doesn't take away from the prestige and the sheer just endurance factor of it. It can be exciting purely just for drivers piling pressure on each other and trying to force each other into mistakes as much as it can be for just constant overtakes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially a qualifying session around here is absolutely breakneck, and Nick is about to start a lap as he comes through the last couple corners.
IRT Nick now lining up through Anthony Nose to begin this first flying lap. Qualifying in Monaco is like no other track. Away we go, hitting into Sandboat for the first time, shifting down into third gear, aggressive with that rotation on the way in, and then piling onto that throttle pedal, uphill climb up Ravage towards Massenet now in this Casino section. Fourth gear really revving out in that downshift, then flick it through Casino Square. Watch for the bumps here, bit of oversteer, kicks it out into the second section now, and Mirabeau then tough traction zone. You can see the rear end squirreling into the slowest corner on the calendar. Huge oversteer, practically drifting through there, and not very effectively, it must be said, as he heads now through Portier along on the lap as Geppo has come off further back in that Aston Martin at the Casino section. This track so unforgiving, we all know that. Nick continuing on though, but takes a bit too much out of that chicane there at the Novell chicane, and that brings that lap to an end. Qualifying has to be error free here, and already in this session we're seeing evidence of that.
Yeah, that's two now at Casino. It is absolutely brutal at the best of times, but especially this year. It is particularly difficult to get through without spinning, and that's two drivers gone already at the same place on the track. It's going to be Ivan Eskrig, formerly known as Galaxy Slayer, who's going to come to the line first, and it's a 108.5, immediately beaten a 108.3 by Spyros. It's absolutely blistering pace. Fleddy even faster, a 108.2. Are we going to get into the 1 minute sevens? Sieb now goes to pole position. It is so close. Everyone putting lap times out there now. Those top three within a tenth of each other, but so many drivers still on lap times. We've got Slash coming down to the line in the other Williams. What's it going to be for him? It's going to be a 9.5, quite a way off to start with. Lakitu into the pits. What about NLR Tom, the man in P2 in the championship, and the championship leader not here today, and Tom goes to P4. He's going to look to capitalize on the absence of Alex Marciano.
Yeah, big championship news in that regard. Championship leader and winner of 3 of the 5 rounds of this season, Alex Marciano, not here tonight. Vessel coming up to the line in that Haas. Watch for the time then, it's a 109.3. There's going to be very little time to give background throughout this session because the action is going to be relentless out there on the circuit, potentially all the way through. But yes, when it comes to NLR Tom, certainly a big opportunity this time around. IRT Nick comes up to the line, goes 7th on a 108.9, gets in to the 1 minute 8 seconds range as several drivers are finally calling off their flying laps. Lolo comes into the pits in the Ferrari. Mattia Manga driving the McLaren for this occasion decides to go into the pits as well. I think we will get a bit of a break in the action eventually after all of that, and I want to continue to talk about well, actually, first we will talk about what happened a couple of weeks ago in Qatar in the last round, because we saw Ivan Eskrig, again formerly Galaxy Slayer, inherit that win after Alex Marciano picked up track limit penalty. But we did see in the stewards room just after that race, Alex Marciano managed to get that time penalty removed in the stewards room, as it was seen that he was forced off the track, and that resulted in that warning being removed, and by extension his 3-second time penalty, which meant that he took the win which he earned out on track, his third win in 5 races, to go 15 points clear of NLR Tom. But of course, as we've mentioned already, big opportunity for NLR Tom to strike back. But you never really know at Monaco. I feel like this is a track, and I'm sure you agree as well, Ghost, that is the defining trait is specialization here. There's perhaps more than any other track on the calendar, some drivers really, really excel here, and some drivers really, really struggle.
Absolutely, it's a lot like Jeddah in that respect. It's another one of those tracks where you just get some drivers way ahead of their usual pace relative to the rest of the grid, and some way behind. And this one probably even more extreme here in Monaco, and we're seeing that already. IRT Sieb at the front of the field at the moment, a 108.254, and the 2 Mercedes actually 1-2 as well, and NLR Tom down in 4th. But it's so crucial to get a lap of some respect on this track, because as we've already seen, 2 drivers out, so as long as you get a lap in, you're at least going to be 16th on the grid, as Triska joins us in the middle of qualifying, so he'll have time to set 2 laps at least. But we've got Nappel and Lakitu on laps at the moment. But interestingly, Lolo still yet to set a lap, but he did do an invalid lap time. And you know what that time was, Daka? I don't know how much he track extended, but it was a 108.0.
Wow.
So Lolo could be a real shout for pole. Once again, actually, for the 3rd round in a row, he is there or thereabouts.
Yeah, pole sitter in the Canadian Grand Prix in a rich vein of form at the moment, as Nappel comes up to the line. 109 flat is the time for the Alpine, goes P9 for the time being. Lakitu behind goes into position number 8. Had a very good race in Qatar at Losail last time out, getting his first points on the board for this season. Currently goes into 8th, just squeaks into 1 minute 8. As we're already seeing, and as we're kind of used to seeing with this track, despite it being a very short track of under 70 seconds in length, as Eva goes fastest on a 107.5, which is an absolute monster of a lap, maybe backing the specialization point. But Sieb, who was previously occupying that pole position, has come off in the middle of his flying lap, and another incident at that casino section. That has been so deadly already, proving to be a bit of a trap for the drivers, and that's 3 drivers off at the same corner, Ghost.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some crashes there in the race as well, Daka. That corner is absolutely brutal on this year's game. It's the exit, because as soon as you put the power down, Lolo, by the way, to P2, so that's outrageous looking time from Ivan Esquig, suddenly looking a bit more vulnerable after Lolo's first lap comes in, but we are well into the 107s to answer that question from earlier. But yeah, it's just, as soon as you get the power down, you just hit this bump on the exit, and if you've just given it a little too much, the car will just snap immediately and you'll be straight into the wall. So it's so careful that the drivers have got to be around that particular corner, even more so than the rest of the circuit. So yeah, keep a watch for the casino exit for incidents, I think, in both these sessions tonight.
There we go, noted hotspot to look out for. Yes, seeing 3 drivers punished by the same part of the track, especially in a league of this quality, a tier of this quality in PSF3, not something you see very often. So these drivers, you can they are of nothing else but being tested tonight. That is one thing you have to say with absolutism. So Ivan Esquig goes to the top, 107.5. Very fast. We don't need to say much more about that, but you can see the gaps being a little bit bigger here than you'd expect at other circuits. 107.5 is that professional pole time. As I'm watching Slash, it was very hot going into Saint-Avold there as Fleddy, and it's another one at the casino. This is extraordinary. Both Mercedes, who were once 1 and 2 in the session, as I've seen, Triska has had a massive offer there at Anthony Nozay, but yeah, as he goes 7th, but that's yet another. That's 4 cars, 1 corner. I mean, granted, that is a punishing section of the track. We're seeing that very plainly here, but that is quite a development. It's something I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like it, not in a league at this standard. 4 drivers coming off. Well, if you needed any more evidence of the difficulty of a corner, well, look no further than that. 4 cars out at the same part of the track.
Yeah, and they will have all done their practice. They will have all known that is the hot spot for where it's the easiest to lose it by far on the whole circuit. So I imagine they've all done their homework, and they've still dropped it there early in qualifying. I was expecting some drops in Casino exit, maybe in the third runs or the second runs. But particularly the third ones, but when people are pushing harder, because they'll know that corner is difficult, but they're going to want to get the best lap time possible on their third run. But to see so many drivers bin it there on their first and second runs is even when I was expecting people to bin it there, that's quite remarkable. And I was watching Triska's lap as well. Earlier on, he's going for another one, by the way, on the same set. No, it's a different set, I think. But he was very, very quick in sector 1 in particular, and he's actually down on that on this attempt. So Triska could be up there. His sector 1 was faster than Lolo's on his lap, so keep an eye on that Alpine, because he really did make a huge mistake in that final corner.
Triska does not lack for one lap pace. That is something that we have seen absolutely throughout this season so far. Currently 7th, of course, hasn't had as much time to get into the session as others. Mattia Manga in the McLaren going along quite nicely, but did clip the wall heading out to back. That is another extremely difficult corner to master and get right, especially at the intensity of a flying lap. Mattia Manga in that McLaren straightening up out of that final corner. Currently the last car to set a time, and it's a good one there as he comes over the line. It goes into possession. Was 5 and immediately beaten and bested by Triska, who did get a much better, much cleaner lap in, and is the 4th driver into the 107s. 107.9 goes 3rd for the moment.
Lolo a 10th up in sector 1, but Ivan Eskrig, he did invalidate at the chicane at the tunnel, but he was 2.5 tenths up.
Oh my goodness.
On the exit of sector 2. He still went for it in that sector just to see what his time would be before going into the pits, and Lolo does the same thing that the pole sitter did at the same corner, just cutting that chicane a little bit too much on the inside, and it's so easy to do. It's probably the easiest place to track extend on the whole circuit, and you wouldn't expect to associate a track like Monaco with track limits penalties, but I would definitely be wary of a few of them popping up in the race for sure, because people are going to be taking that chicane very as much out of it as they possibly can, is what I'm trying to say. And so, especially there, Saint-Devote as well, you can have quite a few track extensions. So there are definitely places where it can happen around here, and very easy places. So keep an eye out for track limits penalties, and especially when it's so hard to overtake around here, they're going to have even more of an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, well, that is one narrative that is very, very commonly referenced, is the fact that, well, they say you cannot overtake around Monaco. I wouldn't say that's entirely true, but it is certainly substantially more difficult here than at pretty much any other circuit on the F1 calendar, and that is why we are putting such an emphasis into this qualifying session, because it could prove to be so crucial at this stage. As Vettel has found himself backwards almost at the Grand Hotel hairpin, managing to gather up the car, but having wing damage. And I think we are going to be treated to a spectacle unlike any other when we do eventually get racing here. 39 laps of Monaco, such a test of endurance and concentration, and oftentimes without the race win usually being settled on the track through wheel-to-wheel battles like we've seen, especially last time out at Qatar. You're going to see races determined by track position and just simply making less mistakes than your rivals.
Absolutely, that's going to be the crux of the matter today. It's going to be mistakes. Who makes the mistakes and who doesn't? Because, like you said, it's so difficult to overtake around here. And what you have to do, really, unless you're well over a second a lap faster than the car in front, and even then it's difficult, you have to rely on them to make a mistake. Whether that's going into the wall and breaking their wing a bit so that they have poor exit out of Sainte Devote. I reckon the run up to Massenet, we're going to see some attempts at overtakes today. But yeah, it's all about waiting for the opponent to make a mistake and then pouncing on it. You've just always got to be ready. You can never, ever afford to just relax and lift off a bit at this circuit if you're following another driver and you want to overtake them, because as soon as they make that little error, you've got to punish them. You've got to give it a go. So yeah, it's going to be so difficult for the drivers, and that is Nick out of the session, but at a different corner this time. It's at the chicane out the tunnel instead, the Nouvelle chicane. It's Ivan Eskrig, nearly the newest victim of the casino exit, just about keeping it under control, but he's lost quite a bit of time as a result. He's a 10th down on his previous best in Sector 1.
Could that leave him vulnerable to attack? Lolo, and the Ferrari is still circulating further around the track, but has decided to, I believe, back off of that one. Triska has done a lightning first sector in the Alpine, so we'll keep an eye on that as Napple has gone off, and another one at that Nouvelle chicane, this time at the exit. Did he clip that exit wall that we're seeing Triska come past now? The Alpine stranded in the middle of the track then, and that's another driver out as these guys continue to push the limits out there. Triska's on a fast one here, 2.5 tenths up nearly. Look at how he skims the walls, heading through that swimming pool section, and then that big stop heading into Raskas. And now Anthony knows, trying to open up that entry as much as he can, catches a bit of oversteer on the way out. Ivan Eskrig does improve a 107.3. Is that going to be out of reach? No, it's not. Triska 107.2. Oh my goodness. Triska pulls one out the bag once again in qualifying and goes to the top of the timesheets by just 0.5 tenth of a second. Is that going to be enough to resist? Because Ghost, well, you've got quite a spectacle in front of us now with everyone gearing up to set times. Triska toppling Ivan Eskrig just then, but we still have many drivers out there looking desperate to improve.
Triska delivering when it really matters, and it really did matter, because I saw rain just then, Dake. It is raining, and Lolo's improving in Sector 2, but it's going to be a tough Sector 3, with a few drops of rain are going to make it a little more difficult, but I think he's just about got enough time to get round before it affects him too much. He was a 10.5 up in Sector 2. Can he gain enough in the final sector to challenge for pole position? No, he can't. He gains 1.5 tenths, but he stays P3. Spyros was improving as well, but he's lost a front wing, so that lap has gone. Matisse coming through in the final sector as well. Can the Ferrari driver come through? No, he can't. He loses it at the penultimate corner at Raskas, and that is him done as well. What about Mattia Manga? Invalidated. NLR Tom in second place in the championship invalidates, and he's going to be 9th in Monaco in qualifying. An absolutely disastrous qualifying session for him, just when he needs a good one because of Alex Marciano's absence. Lakitu comes home, he improves to P12, but it's not enough to challenge for the top 10. What about Vessel? Invalidated, and Slash as well, also invalidating. So that is it, and Triska, right at the track when it mattered the most, takes an emphatic pole position from Ivan Eskrig, who looked as if he had this all wrapped up.
Emphatic and invaluable for Triska to take away that pole possession, because it is, well, without exaggeration, the single most important pole possession on the entire calendar. Triska, who had that spectacular race win a few weeks ago in Montreal, looking to try and catapult himself into the driver's fight, as is Ivan Eskrig. These guys 3rd and 4th in the standings, and you look at Tom having that disappointing session, Alex Marciano not being in attendance here tonight. It does serve as an opportunity for those guys, but let's run through the results with Triska edging out Ivan Eskrig then, just 0.04 of a second separating those guys, but behind the gaps are bigger, as you would expect from a track as demanding as Monaco. Lolo takes 3rd position. Good job from him then, just in front of Spyros, who has a clean enough session, gets into the 107s as well joins him on the second row ahead of Matisse and Fleddy in 6th for the two Mercedes, especially what could have been without those crashes. Mattia Manga 7th, Sieb in 8th, Tom then in 9th. We'll have been hoping for more, and Sviatek rounds out the top 10 behind that. Napel and Lakitu, Nick and Vessel, Slash and Provatox, and then Geppo and Baimaranbi not getting competitive at times in. That is your qualifying session done and dusted for Monaco, and what a session it was. But I do want to discuss that, how significant it could be for the championship situation, because I mean, it is Monaco and so much can happen. So many mistakes could creep in over the course of a 39 lap race around a track like this. But for both Ivan and also for Triska, they must be licking their lips in anticipation here, because Alex and Tom have defined this season so far. They are well clear. Tom in second place is 22 points ahead of Ivan in third place in the standings, and you know that's not a gap that can be made up just in this round, but if you want to get yourself in contention, this round seems like a prime chance.
Especially after that qualifying. This is absolutely huge for Triska and Ivan, and they have to make the most of it now. Lolo up there as well. He has been the man on form, but I keep forgetting. This isn't the real start, is it? But no, it's Lolo, the man on form in qualifying at the moment for sure, as everyone launches themselves into Saint-Devote, clearly trying to be heroes at Saint-Devote. But yeah, it's a massive opportunity, and Triska and Ivan, I'm sure the narrative will not be lost on them, the importance of this particular result for them. And well, they're going to get the lobby underway again, so they'll have some time to think on it as well. For some drivers that's a good thing, for other drivers not so much. They just want to get straight into the racing and not have to think about it too much. But yeah, those two on the front row, best opportunity they've got, but can Ivan try and send one into Saint-Devote? If he can get a really good start and get onto the inside of Triska, then he could force his way through at turn 1 and take the lead.
You know, I thought we'd get through an entire broadcast without having to mention the no heroics into Saint-Devote meme, but nevertheless, that is how things have ended up. Yes, so we will build the anticipation ahead of this race, and my oh my, it's one that I'm certainly looking forward to. I know a lot of people, you know, I'm not even the biggest Monaco fan. I think you are certainly a big Monaco fan, and that's from both this broadcast and also from discussions with you outside the commentary box. But yeah, Monaco, it does provide, as I've said several times, a spectacle like no other, and that is what we are surely going to be treated to in hopefully just a few minutes' time. So we will look forward to that very, very shortly. So it is Triska and Ivan and Lolo looking to try and make up points in that championship fight, and we'll get into that championship fight because you know, after this race we are coming up to half distance. Well, we will be at half distance throughout the season, and well, certainly it's a time where you want to be in the picture. The season is starting to take shape, the contenders are sorting themselves out, and I think we cannot underestimate the importance that this race could have.
Absolutely. You know, some might think it's still a little bit early to be talking about the championship, but we're halfway through the season now. We've had a decent number of races, and you know, this is when these results start to count, and when drivers are going to start thinking about the championship a little more clearly. And well, Alex Marciano and Tom, like you said, quite a way ahead of everyone else at the moment, but that gap, Ivan, Triska and Lolo 3, 4 and 5 within 8 points of each other. It's 22 between Ivan in third place and Tom in second. But there's a real opportunity here for all three of them to gain a large amount of points on the top two, and Tom has got a big drive on his hands. He's just got to keep it together. He's P9 on the grid. He's not going to be happy, but he can't let it get in his head, because if he tries to go for moves in silly situations, then he's just going to end up even worse off. So he's got to stay calm and salvage whatever he can here, and I think he's just going to have to accept that his lead is almost certainly going to be cut into today, or well, his lead over those three anyway. And that he's not going to be able to close down Alex Marciano too much unless some disasters happen in front of him. Or maybe he could go for an audacious pit strategy and get everyone that way. It's all to play for. And, I've seen at this track in a different league, I've seen a driver pit very early on, lap 5 or so, for the hard tyres and go all the way to the end. He ended up winning by 25 seconds.
Wow.
So it's, the audacious pit strategies can really work around here if everything falls your way. So maybe Tom could consider that today, especially when he has such a big lead and he's not got that much to lose from P9 on the grid. So yeah, keep an eye on Tom for him coming in early, I would say.
Well, we'll keep an eye out on that. Indeed, the hards will go virtually the entire race here at Monaco, and in a track where track position is so important, if you can get that jump to the pit cycle, then even if faster cars are behind you, they're going to struggle to overtake you, as long as you keep it nice and clean. Just a quick word, by the way, to GT Omega, who sponsor PSGL. A link to their site, as always, is down there in the video description. If you don't want to purchase anything from their site, then you can use the code PSGL at the checkout for a 5% discount. Make sure to have a look at that. I want to touch on a point that you made earlier, Ghost, about some drivers, this break that we have, and how they may relish it and how they may they may not feel too glad for it. Because for me, Monaco is a track, and you hear real life drivers talking about this all the time, it's a track where rhythm is so important. You really need to try and get into a flow around here, and I think that's a point we're going to have to look for a lot in this race. I think it's something that matters so much when you have to place the car so precisely here. Being able to get into that flow is both more difficult here, but if you can manage it, then it can be so much more beneficial for your chances.
Absolutely. It's all about gaining confidence at this circuit. And those drivers who crashed early in qualifying, their confidence is going to be rock bottom to start this race. So they're in a tough situation right now. And drivers who qualified maybe a lot lower down than they were hoping for, they'll also have a little less confidence than they were hoping for. But if you have confidence around here and you can get into that flow, like you said, then you're gonna pay dividends on the track as well. And it's just all about feeling at one with the car and the track at this circuit for a long time, because it's a long race as well. It's about 50 minutes. Most races are about 40, maybe 45. So it's all about just getting yourself in the right headspace, and just delivering with the car and keeping it close to the walls enough that you keep the confidence, but obviously not too close that you end up with the same fate as 6 or 7 drivers in that qualifying session.
I think that point you make about being close enough to the walls is very apt, because I feel like this is a track where if you try and drive cautiously and just with taking absolutely zero risk, that could you say that could also knock you out of your rhythm and make you even more likely to make a mistake?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. As soon as you start not feeling the confidence and you start trying to be a bit more cautious, you go wide at a corner here, you just stay relatively far away from a wall there. It can mess with your flow, it can mess with your rhythm, and even as immediate an effect as the next corner you're set up very badly for and you could crash into the wall there, or it's just a confidence thing long term, and you just become more and more likely to crash as the laps tick by. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all about headspace and rhythm at this circuit, and we'll see which drivers can fall foul of that and which drivers can rise through it very shortly.
in many other races, you will see battles between drivers out on track. That is something that, well, has defined this season up to this point. I would say Monaco is more of a battle against yourself and the circuit. Again, which is why, again, I will say it again, there is nothing quite like this. Again, you may like it, you may not, but you certainly have to admit it is unique beyond any stretch of the imagination. So we'll get into this one, and in terms of the pit stops throughout this race and the role that they could play, oh, never mind, we're going to get into the action then as we build up to the Monaco Grand Prix. We have 5 lights. And the Monaco Grand Prix is go. Looks like a fast reaction time from Ivan, drawing alongside Triska towards Sandoval. They're going to be side by side. Triska, braver on the brakes, but runs in it deep. And now fighting back. Ivan Esquig on the climb towards Massenet takes the lead away. And Monaco snatching it from Triska and moving back because he's on those hard tyres. Does not have the grip. Lolo gets up and alongside, runs out of space. And that Ferrari has to tuck in. Look, lunging behind in that midfield. Fleddy and Mattia Manga battling through Mirabeau and sideways as the Kick Sauber Promotox has found themselves stranded in the middle of the circuit. They are still battling, trying to sort themselves out through that Grand Hotel hairpin, but Promotox is the biggest victim, the biggest calamity of that first lap, having to gather it up and losing places hand over fist, dropping right to the back of the field as side by side in the tunnel. Napple dropping back to Lucky 2 and also to Slash as finally it looks like things begin to settle down halfway through the first lap with Ivan snatching away that pole position. Triska went for the hard tyre start, and you could see how little the grip was at the start. He did all he could, but in the end was helpless to defend, and Ivan Esquig now leads.
I'm absolutely shocked that Triska has started this race on the hards. I really, really am. Nick is into the pits. Napple also in. So those are the first victims as I think that was Weimar Ranvi going sideways out of Anthony Noakes there. Provotox also in after that sideways moment earlier on. But yeah, I can't believe Triska has gone onto the hards. Makes sense the drivers at the back might go for the hards to start off with. Just go on an alternate strategy. You see it all the time. But Triska from P1 going on the hard tyres is quite a shock. I think maybe he was hoping to keep the drivers on mediums behind from pole position, and well, that plan has immediately backfired as Ivan gets him into turn 1. It's a beautiful move, by the way, from Ivan Esquig. Perfectly executed, took full advantage of the poor exit from Triska that he forced really by trying to go around the outside and then backing off. So that's our first victim. It's at the Nouvelle Chicane. Vessel out of the race in that Haas on lap 2 of 39. But yeah, plenty more to come here as Nick had a great start, by the way. He was up 3 places, but obviously front wing damage early on, and he's had to come into the pits. But I was talking about Triska starting on the hards. He's just set the fastest lap, so he's clearly got the pace, which almost makes it more baffling that he started on the hards, because he's going to get undercut so strongly here. And he may be on the faster tyre at the end, but is he going to be able to overtake anyone at this circuit?
Well, we shall see. But yeah, Triska, he maybe thought that, well, Monaco is a relatively easy pole position to convert most of the time. It's a short run into T1. You have that inside line. It's still on the racing line. Is not sure what you caught further back. Is that Lakito then? Another car coming off at Mirabeau there.
Yeah, Lakitu tried to go down the inside of Slash, down towards the corner, and he just didn't get it right. Just understeered a little too much into him, and that was Lakitu round. Slash got away with it, luckily for the Williams driver, but the Aston driver not so much, and he's now down to P13, 4 seconds back. But yeah, Mirabeau, another corner where you might see some overtakes going down if you get a really good exit out of Casino and the other driver in front of you messes it up a little bit, or you can smell blood just from a little snap of the rear and try and send one into Mirabeau if you've got the opportunity. But Ivan strikes back with a fastest lap of his own in that V-carb, and he is now 1.3 ahead of Triska, who's keeping Lolo behind to his credit, but it's now, I would say, Ivan's race to lose.
At the moment, he's got a free pass to just continue building up that gap to Triska, who, yeah, to his credit, doesn't seem to be under much pressure from behind. Seemingly has very strong pace, even on these hard tyres. But again, you do wonder how much the lack of grip is costing him compared to his rivals. We'll see if fortunes may change later on in the race. For now, he's going to try and just run his own race. We're seeing the race fracture already. Some drivers just more comfortable than others. Mattia Manga, who I think was caught in the battles, to be fair, earlier on in the race, has ended up being detached from the top 5 and is just, again, trying to hold off Matisse and co behind as Provatox has come off again. Well, we said some drivers excel at this track and some drivers really struggle. Provatox seemingly falling into the latter of those categories at the moment. That's another off, I believe, just at the casino section, and missing now an end plate. So this is looking like it's going to be a very long night for Provatox, who's already not far off a lap down in this race. Brutal stuff so far at this stage, and yeah, with a lot of work to do in this race. You're seeing several drivers falling afoul at the moment, then making errors and falling back in the race. Up front, it's a bit more clean as Lolo now begins to try and apply that pressure. A bit of contact through that Grand Hotel hairpin. Bit of front to back, but you're going to see Lolo probably on those mediums. He feels he has more pace, but you're going to see more evidence of him just getting frustrated. There are very few overtaking opportunities around this track, as we've mentioned several times, and this is maybe where Triska, you know, he doesn't have the tyre advantage, but this is where maybe he can offset that against the car that has more pace behind him, but simply cannot use it.
Yeah, another thing you've got to be careful of around here is ERS. You've got to make sure that you keep enough in the tank to capitalize on an opponent's mistake. And, well, Lolo, he's got a decent amount at the moment, so does Triska. They're managing well at the moment, but Triska very wide at the Nouvelle chicane on that previous lap, and Lolo would have seen that. That is someone coming out the pits. I believe that's Provatox. No, it's an Aston Martin, I think. Anyway, someone who's a lap down. But you know, hopefully they get out of the way in time. If they don't, maybe a little bit of a distraction to these drivers. But no, the Sauber diligently pulls out of the way of the leaders, as Lolo nearly into the back of Triska there, into Mirabeau. That was very, very close. But now the gap to Ivan, 2.5 seconds. Triska practically drifting through turn 6 there, or turn 7 rather. And through the tunnel they go, down towards the Nouvelle chicane for the 6th time. And Lolo, yeah, he's just got to keep his head here. He can't go for anything silly, but he's going to be frustrated because he knows that gap to Ivan is just going up and up and up, and he's going to know he's faster than Triska at this stage of the race on the better tyres. So Triska doing his best to frustrate the Ferrari, and we'll see if it works later on, if Lolo goes for a silly move at any point. But at the moment, fairly well behaved. Spyros into the pits. That's damage for the Red Bull possibly. No, it's just an early stop. He's going for that. Oh no, it's a retirement. Never mind. So Spyros, an early retirement. Not sure why, but that's a real shame because he was running very well.
Yeah, I'm confused at the circumstances of that. Maybe we'll get another explanation from Spyros himself. We'll keep an eye out on that. But yeah, that is another driver gone from the race, I'm afraid, and down to what will now be 16 runners in this Monaco Grand Prix. I do have to give an immense amount of credit to all of these podium guys. Top 5, of course, in the standings. Look at the way even Triska on these hard tyres, he and Lolo have completely gapped the rest of the field. Fleddy, his pace seems to have dropped off in recent laps, and Mattia Manga and co are actually coming back towards him. Steve is actually pressuring Matisse towards him. Nouvelle chicane so much that Matisse has to cover the inside line, and both of them running out of space across the inside of the chicane. Tom takes advantage, as does Videk in the Red Bull, and Sieb slipping back was trying to carve out an opportunity and ended up coming off worse. Matisse as well getting a time penalty for his troubles. Still remains in 6th place for the moment, and that is what happens. And Matisse actually suffering with damage. You'd have to say dreadful luck for the Ferrari man, and that is what can happen. I hate to say it, but that is what can happen at Monaco when you get a bit too impatient. You try and force a move, even in a track where, of course, those overtaking opportunities are so slim. Matisse and Sieb both losing out greatly from that, but that is the curse of trying to go wheel to wheel at this circuit.
Well, NLR Tom's going to feel like Moses there, as that is another one at Casino exit. That is Slash this time, becoming a cropper at that corner. Lakitu duly avoids the stricken Williams, but we've got a VSC now, so that's going to neutralize things temporarily. But yeah, like I was saying, Tom, very, very pleased with what transpired there in front of him. It just, everything parted, and he's up to P6. After the pit stop from Matisse and obviously the incident that put Sieb further back as well. So he's going to be happy. He's salvaging what he can at the moment, and Mattia Manga, his teammate, just ahead.
Watch for stops.
I do. Indeed, yeah, VSC out, so there may be stops, and there is indeed. Ivan Esquig into the pits. Triska staying out on those hard tyres. He's going to get brutally undercut here, and he's going to be in a very, very bad spot later in this Grand Prix. And I do have to call into question starting on the hard tyres. I don't understand why he's done it. Sieb stays out as well on the mediums. He's thought he might as well after the incident he's had. But Gippo also staying out in the Aston Martin. But Ivan exits in fairly clear air, but no, he's got Gippo very close in front of him, 1.1 seconds. So he is going to come under pressure here, trying to overtake this Aston Martin. Because if he gets stuck behind him for too long, then the undercut is not going to be as powerful.
Certainly not. And yeah, he would have been certainly hoping for a bit more of a clean air. Of course, you'd say in a usual sense, yes, pitting under that VSC would have been the right call. In fact, well, pretty much all of the medium starters have done it, with the exception of just Sieb and Lakitu in position number 5 at the moment. You'd think it is typically the better port of call, but it does well regress you if you find yourself coming out in traffic, which is exactly what we're seeing with Ivan here, who was the runaway race leader. Now potentially could have a bit of a roadblock here, and this could be potentially what Triska needs if he has an opportunity. Yes, okay, he has lost out initially from that VSC, but Ivan, if he, well, maybe no matter what he does, he may still get stuck here. Even if he does have a pace advantage, has much fresher tyres, he's got a full battery at his deployment there, but what can he do here about Gippo? It's so difficult to find a way through. Gippo is understeering through Massenet there, but Ivan, again, and you were saying this earlier on with reference to Lolo, he's got to be patient here. He's got to try and wait it out and hope something clear-cut comes. You can't try and force it here in Monaco, and he just needs to sit back as Matisse comes out. Another incident at the casino section. Are we going to see any kind of VSC or full safety car? It's blinking yellow. It doesn't seem like anything's going to be deployed. That's not the case. And Matisse, another driver out in that Ferrari. So unfortunate for him. We're down now to 14 runners in this Monaco Grand Prix. But yes, I want to again make reference to Ivan, who's all over the back of Gippo, but quite simply he has to just hope something opens up and not try and force it.
Keep count, everyone. That's 2 DNFs in this race at Casino now. It's just a temperament to just how difficult that corner is this year. We know how talented this really is.
Sorry, a cut in. Lolo was trying to force a way through on Lakitu, another contender in this race, has been caught behind a car that stayed out. Lolo tried to go to the inside, and Anthony knows I only caught the end of it. I don't know if he sent it into Razcast too, but he now set behind. He got out of shape. There was contact because it's a corner where there's virtually no space, but he is trying any trick in the book to find a way through. Simply though, Monaco does not quite allow for that, and Lakitu, as long as he drives error free, Lolo just cannot get past. But he took a really big risk there, did Lolo. Couldn't quite find a way through. Sorry to cut in there, but yes, wheel-to-wheel moments at Monaco are fairly rare. Can he get it towards the Nouvelle chicane? He squirts the throttle pedal, gets rear tyres spinning out, trying to claw the back of Lakitu. Is he going to send one into the chicane? Lakitu brakes quite late, it must be said, given the tyre disadvantage. He holds on, and Lolo's caught behind. Man, you have to feel for Lolo, because he's seemingly had a lot of pace in this race and had no opportunity to use it.
Lakitu doing a fantastic job defending at the moment, but here comes Lolo again, down towards the last couple of corners, but there's nothing he can do. He tries for the switchback inside of Anthony Nose again, but he has to back out. There's no way to go through there, and DRS down to Sant-Devot. He's using some ERS as well, and down towards the first corner. He's just not close enough. Can he get a good exit though, up towards the next few corners? Here we go. This is where we might see some overtakes today, but not this time. Lolo runs out of VRS, but he goes down the inside, and he gets it done, but he's pushed Lakitu into the wall. Perhaps, I think, Lakitu, as he tries to get the car back underway, crashes himself into the wall, and it's a safety car, and it's amazing for Triska. After I was bashing him for his tyre choice earlier on, it's an incredible development for the Alpine driver, and he is going to have to take those mediums a long way, but it's still a great development for him. He would have hoped this would be a little bit later than it is, but he's still going to be happy with this. He's going to come into the pits. He hasn't got a front right end plate either, Dakar, so he's going to be doubly happy. He'll get to replace that wing. Where's he going to come out? I can't imagine he'll be ahead of Ivan, but he should be ahead of Lolo at least.
I would think so, yes. And yeah, Lakitu coming undone there, coming out of Massenet there. Unsure if that was really Lolo's doing. I'd have to look at it again, but yeah, Lakitu just, as he was trying to recover the car, was very unlucky because he made very light contact with the wall, but in the end that was enough to tear the front left off and bring an end to his race. Unfortunately, Triska, exactly as you thought, emerges in between Ivan and Lolo. In fairness, that was quite a big gap to slot into, so Triska now, it is a long way for the mediums, but he is right back in this fight, and he will have that grip advantage in the early laps. So Ivan is going to have to resist a rather large amount of pressure from the chaser behind, looking for a way through. But Triska, as you said, right back into it, although I would say maybe he would have actually hoped, as you said, maybe just for it to be out even longer, because he was gaining as Ivan was caught behind I believe Geppo it was, who now actually another one of the big beneficiaries if he can try and extend those mediums all the way, but he was extending that gap in the lead, so maybe if they waited a bit longer, he may well have had an easier time of getting the mediums to the end, but also may have even had track possession. It doesn't turn out that way, and he's going to have to pressure, and you're going to see, as you mentioned earlier, those kind of pressure-led wheel-to-wheel, well, not wheel-to-wheel, but those battles here, because Triska, you'd imagine, if he has the speed, we've seen how fast Ivan has been in this race so far, but this is Triska's opportunity to pile it on and try and force some kind of tension into the, at this stage, runaway race leader Ivan Eskri.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's now or never for Triska as well, because he's going to know that the longer those medium tyres go on, the worse they're going to get in this race. And so if he's going to make a move on Ivan and try and go for this race win, he needs to do it early on in the stint to have a chance, unless, of course, we get another safety car, which not entirely unlikely, but you know, we've already had two crashes at Casino, and neither of them resulted in a safety car. It was actually Lakitu putting himself into the wall that did it in the end. But yeah, Ivan is going to be under a lot of pressure here. But like you said, he's shown himself to have incredible race pace already today. So we'll see if he can keep that up. Just a few updates elsewhere on the grid as well. Mattia Manga is currently in P5. He has a missing front right end plate on his front wing, so he's going to be particularly slow when the green flags are back underway. NLR Tom is probably the biggest loser from this safety car, because he was looking for P6, probably P5 before this all happened, but now he's down to 9th. And well, it's back to square one. It's exactly where he started, and it's not like he's got better tyres either. The same tyres as Viaduct in front of him, and Gippo and Sieve have got better tyres as well in front of him. Nick and Nappel both better behind him. So yeah, Tom will be disappointed by what's transpired recently, and apparently, according to my telemetry, he also has minor front wing damage. It's not visible, but it is going to affect him. It'll probably lose him maybe 2/10, I would say.
Yes, certainly. Certainly not what you want at Monaco, but of course, very, very common, it must be said. Another update, by the way, behind the scenes. We were confused earlier as to the nature of Spyros' retirement because he seemed to be running well. He came into the pit lane and retired from the race. It turns out he had issues with his equipment, namely his pedals, he says. So, yeah, that's ultimately how things have ended up there for Spyros, and it's a shame because he was running, as I said, very, very well, well within the top 10, and was looking very, very good, running near the front. But yeah, Spyros, that was unfortunate. Hopefully those panels are sorting out for the future rounds, but that's the nature of that retirement, which again is such a shame. He is one of 5 who have come a cropper in this race. We are waiting for Provatox to get back on, who maybe one of the big winners of this safety car by virtue of just being able to get back in contention. We should get back to racing on this lap with Ivan leading. Moranvi is kind of in the middle of all of that, the Italian in the Sauber. Hopefully he doesn't interfere with things all that much, but we should get back to racing on this lap, and the dynamic at the front changes this time because it's Ivan on the hards and Triska on the mediums. So role reversal from the start. We'll see if Triska's able to pile that pressure on.
Absolutely, it's exciting prospect ahead. And, well, Borotox back on the lead lap. He has played this very, very well, actually, to get back on the lead lap. He made sure to stay out so that he didn't get lapped before everyone got to the safety car, and so he could unlap himself and then pit after everyone was slowed by the safety car. So he's back in contention, like you said. He's in P12. And, well, if you're wondering why Moranvi hasn't retired in this race so far, because usually you see drivers retire as soon as they're a lap down, but you know, with all these TNFs you can be 3 laps down and still get points the way things are going. But Ivan is off and he's got the lapped car of Moranvi between himself and Triska, so it's a strong start for him as the green flag's back underway. Into turn 1 he goes as the race leader, but Triska straight after him as Moranvi duly gets out of the way of everyone very sportingly before turn 1.
So now Triska has clear run ahead of him to try and get to the back of Ivan Eskrig. These next few laps are going to tell us a lot. 8 tenths is the gap. Keep an eye on that. Can Triska just get within range and try and hassle the man who's dominated this race up to this point? Behind it, it's relatively smooth sailing for the rest of the field. Of course, contrasting tyres for some of them. 3 medium runners, some of the hards fresher than others, but at the moment nothing really doing in terms of pressure. One thing that is for sure, Triska is deploying that battery. He is getting right up to the back of the V-Carb in front of him, now looking to pile that pressure on. The Dutchman chases after the Spaniard. The 2 drivers who have defined this Monaco Grand Prix up to this point now right together on the track, but Ivan knows the pressure is going to be at its worst in these early laps when the mediums have that much more grip, have that advantage. He knows that full well because he took advantage of that same effect at the race start to take away the race lead. He's having to resist a lot. Triska looks so menacing behind him, but if Ivan can weather the storm in these next few laps, it should become easier from here.
I'll tell you what, Daka, Triska would look a lot more menacing if he didn't have front wing damage. He's missing a front right end plate on that Alpine, so he may have a lot better tyres at the moment, but he's going to really struggle to make best use of them, because even if Ivan makes a mistake, Triska is going to struggle on corner exits with that damage. So he's not in the best position here if he wants to win this race, and Ivan will surely be looking behind him and seeing that damage on the Alpine at least at some point. I saw an overtake being made in the midfield. I can't quite tell. I think it was Sieb. Yeah, Gippo getting past Sieb for P6. I'm not quite sure how he did it. I wasn't quite running on board, so I missed that one. I do apologise, but yeah, Gippo up to P6 and using those mediums to full effect at the moment. Mattia Manga next on his list, and we know that the McLaren driver has damage, and that's even worse from the other McLaren, NLR Tom, with a 3-second time penalty for track limits on lap 18, and well, he was having a good day. He was having a good recovery up until very recently, up until that safety car came out, and now things go from bad to worse for the man in P2 in the championship.
certainly, and he's losing out multiple places from that at the moment. As up in front, Mattia Manga, you mentioned he also has that front wing damage. Look at Geppo swarming all over the rear wing as he clips the wheel for the lead. And even Iskrig now having to try and resist. Triska, look at Triska all over him, searching for a way through. Lolo's right there as well. Onto the overtake button for the pair of them. Surely then, as Triska tries to take advantage of these mediums, closing in, looking for the race lead towards the Nobel chicane, but even Iskrig holds on late enough on the brakes. Well, they are getting into it at the front. Even Iskrig does not want to yield, of course, but Triska is not backing down from the fight either. And well, forget the fact that it's Monaco. We have got a race on our hands. Triska charging on with wing damage, throwing everything at the man in third place in the standings, then punching out of Anthony Nose, and you can see the pressure piling on. As I said, Ivan, these next couple of laps are going to be hell for the race leader, then managing to resist that threat. But very briefly, Triska did manage to get in front, didn't quite catch the start of that, caught the head as further get back. Geppo going for the move of Mattia Magadan as they go side by side up Boravage, and the Aston gets in front. My goodness, well, I did not expect this many wheel-to-wheel moments here at Monaco. I think Mattia really struggling with that front wing, and now under pressure from Sieb behind us. The entire field stacks up behind the McLaren. Tough going for him, but Geppo pulling it off. Well, we're getting a race, I think, far more exciting than we anticipated. A pitched battle for the lead in SRT Geppo, proving that you can overtake at Monaco, as is NLR Tom, who slides past Weiding, going in to Portier, taking up that 8th position, doing all he can to limit the losses here. Look at Napple too, hounding Weiding. I did not expect this at all, Ghost. They are going at it out there.
Oh yeah, it was a mistake from Sviadek out of the slow hairpin, and Tom took full advantage. He sent it to the inside of the next corner, and he had the inside as well for the corner after, and he made use of it. He's up to P8. It was a great overtake from the McLaren driver, and Sieb trying to follow Gippo. It's a great overtake from the Aston Martin driver as well, as he just took the advantage of the McLaren having a poor exit out of turn 1. Mattia Manga again going on the inside of turn 1 to defend, but he gets a track limits penalty as a result, and Sieb has to stick behind. And well, the knowledge that Sieb might be able to get Mattia penalised for track extending and keeping the position is not really going to be much comfort, as he is still behind the McLaren and losing a ton of time to Gippo with every corner that ticks by. And well, Gippo 4 seconds between him and Fleddy now. He's flying in that Aston Martin, and yeah, we've got to keep an eye on him, because he'll be very happy with a top 5 finish considering where he was earlier in this race. Sieb again on that McLaren, looking for perhaps a move into Nouvelle, but he can't quite do it. He's not quite close enough. And Mattia Manga under so much pressure from all the drivers behind, desperate to get past, knowing how much time they're losing stuck behind him. But there's just nothing they can do, and they've got to do something like what Gippo did, which was force him into a wide line and then get him on the exit. And it was very masterfully done from the Aston Martin, who's clearly overtaken there in Monaco before.
Certainly that experience paying off then, as Napple makes an error out of Anthony Nose and loses out to IRT. Nick moves up into the top 10, and of course benefiting from penalties. Look at Sieb still hounding. He did have a full battery at the start of the lap, but clearly he's already deploying, hoping that something somewhere opens up, because the gap to Geppo in front now 3.5 seconds to the Aston Martin, who looks in fine form now for the future in this race. Can he get it done? There's no rotation from the 6th place man in the race at all, and Sieb, well, he'll be seeing that and he'll be feeling it. Cannot quite take advantage. Now he gets on an overtake button, and now he closes him down. Which way is he going to go? There's no space there on the inside towards the Nova chicane, and he runs into the back of the McLaren. Sieb is getting desperate, but there's no way through. Mattia Manga just put the car in the middle of the road, and Sieb tried to go down the left, nothing doing there. Oh, you can feel the frustration from here, because even with such a pace advantage, he just cannot get through, and this is really hurting his race then, as Geppo up in front and the rest of the top 5 continue to disappear up the road.
Gippo's the fastest driver on the track right now, Daka. He is flying out there. He's done the fastest lap out of anyone for 3 laps in a row. And now as he chases after Fleddy, Sieb again looking for the same thing that Gippo did, but you just can't execute it quite as well as the Italian driver did. And now Sieb through Casino again for the 22nd time. Still no way past this stricken McLaren, and Mattia Manga's doing a great job keeping him behind and salvaging as many points as he can. But you have to wonder as well, if Sieb does get past, whether there's going to be team orders at McLaren and Tom is going to, because it's a huge hindrance to Tom if he has to stay behind his teammate. Here comes Sieb again, looking to the inside, to the tunnel as Mattia Manga takes the racing line. Nothing that the Mercedes driver can do, and once again stuck behind. And yeah, the desperation is going to start setting in as he sees that gap go up and up. Weimaranby is out of the race. Looks like on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane, heading up towards the next left-hander, but yeah, he was down in 13th anyway. It's Gippo. Oh, he's going to be gutted with that. A 3-second time penalty to the Aston Martin driver. He's still way ahead of the drivers behind, but it's going to cost him quite a bit if he wants to get any better than P5 from this race.
And of course the charge may come in later laps from Sieb on those mediums if he can find a way past Mattia Manga. Still nothing doing. It may have looked on that last lap like Mattia Manga was weaving down the straight. He simply wasn't. He just has to follow a line, move the car very subtly, and there's nothing Sieb can do. Can Sieb, oh, big oversteer then through Miro Bass, manages to hang on to it then. Again, he's on an overtake button. He's going to have a bit of closing speed there towards the Nouvelle Chicane. His third time going to be the charm for IRT Sieb. Again, there's just no space. Mattia Manga doing, as you said, a damn good job of keeping the Mercedes behind. He just has to put the car in the middle of the road. There is no space to the left, no space to the right. Nothing egregious that Sieb just cannot find a way through, as Mattia Manga slams the wall out of the swimming pool section and hits that already damaged end plate out of Anthony Knows. Is there going to be anything for Sieb? He's on the overtake button once again, closing. Can he find a way to Saint-Devant? No, nothing doing there as Weidegg has found itself backwards out of the final corner onto the main straight. No front wing on that Red Bull.
Finally, Sieb gets through. Finally, on the exit of Saint-Devant, he finally finds a way past the McLaren. He's up to P6. It's 6 seconds up the road to Gippo, and he's going to be breathing a sigh of relief. And now we wonder, are there going to be team orders at McLaren? Tom already gaining a place from Nick earlier on, but here we go. Oh, he touches the back of his teammate through the slow hairpin. There's just nothing he can do unless Mattia lets him by, but Tom's got his own problems behind him at the moment as Nick tries to push him through the last few of those slow corners, heading towards the Nouvelle Chicane. He looks to the inside, but he doesn't send it in the end. He backs off just in time, and Tom is going to be a frustrated man if Mattia Manga does not yield in the next couple of laps, really, because he's under huge pressure at the moment. And look at the front as well. Look at the gaps. Dakar, Triska now 2.7 behind Ivan and under pressure from Lolo. And there's the team orders, perhaps, as Mattia Manga comes into the pit lane instead of yielding. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry, Lolo is pressuring Triska and had a run to the outside, heading in towards Massenet. Didn't find a way through in the end, but yeah, Triska's pace seems to be deteriorating. I wonder if his damage has worsened up to this point. The damage visually still looks the same, but his pace has fallen off a cliff. Is it just the mediums beginning to struggle relative to the hards? Lolo is all over the road too, and Fleddy may look to try and take advantage to another snap of oversteer for the Ferrari. He is getting frustrated. Even still, he has barely had a lap in clean air in this entire race, as Lolo and Fleddy is now in contention to try and take advantage. Geppo's starting to fall away as well further back, or maybe not actually, it's hard to say at this stage, but yeah, it does seem as though the crossover is happening in terms of pace between the mediums and the hard. Mattia Manga comes in. What I was going to say actually is that Mattia Manga, well, isn't actually Tom's full-time teammate, so I wasn't convinced that he was going to pull out of the way. Of course, that's as Provatox has come off then at to back in a full safety car. Oh my goodness, a full safety car, and all the front runners are just past the pit entry. They've missed it, although maybe they'll want to stay out and not risk giving up that track position. The drivers further back though, they are going to come in undoubtedly. Tom, Nick and Napple and Mattia Manga and Zweidegg have just put on fresh mediums, so they'll be staying out, but they'll be, well, doubly glad for this because that's going to bring them back into play. So a full safety car, how could this change the complexion of this race? One thing is for sure, those top 6 drivers are going to be the ones under pressure as Tom comes out just in front of Napoli, loses out to Nick because of that front wing repair, so the Williams does come out back in front, but Well, we have seen when you're behind, it can be possible to overtake if you have such a tire and pace advantage. So Nick, Tom, Napple, Mattia Manga, Zweideg, can they take advantage of that and try and go on the offensive? And, well, Sieb could go from being the hunter as he was from so long to potentially being the hunted. We shall see. But the gaps are closed up at the front. But for Ivan Eskrig, well, he's been able to pull away from Triska once. What's to say he can't do it again? But never. That said, I have just noticed something. There's such a big gap between Sieb and Nick that I imagine you could be seeing more cars come into the pits at the end of this lap.
The question is, does Tricker repair his front wing? That's the biggest question. He's got that damage. Does he? Oh, Ivan stays out. Ivan stays out on the hard tyres, not willing to pit and lose track position, and Lolo does the same. I think that could be a good call, but it's going to be so hard to defend from the fresh mediums. Triska does repair the wing, so he is going to lose out here, possibly to Fleddy, and he does indeed. So Triska down to 4th place in this race from pole position, and he's going to have a lot of work to do to get himself on the podium. Fleddy now into P3, but those top two 18 lap old hard tyres versus fresh mediums. Goodness me, that's a big call, but Ivan was in a tough position there, because if he pits, then probably everyone behind him, other than Triska, because he was on the aging mediums already, so he would probably come in regardless. But if he pits, everyone behind him stays out just to gain that position. So you never really want to be leading the Monaco Grand Prix in a situation like this, and Ivan just caught between a rock and a hard place there. Whichever decision would have been the wrong one. So he's just got to hope that Lolo can keep those guys behind for long enough for him to pull a decent enough gap that he can have enough laps to be under as little pressure as possible, just to give him that extra mental edge. But yeah, Lolo going to be under so much pressure. And you're talking about the mediums falling off. On previous games, the mediums usually fall off or start falling off after about 12 laps, and that's where we were. So it's clearly similar in terms of tyre wear, at least to last year's game. So that's good to know for commentary intel. But yeah, Ivan Eskrig and Lolo with a huge job to do now. And 12 laps to go. It's going to be at least 11, probably 10 once the safety car comes in. And Ivan's still in the best positions. I would still say the favourite for the win, but Fleddy and Triska now, especially Fleddy, are going to fancy their chances on those fresh medium tyres to try and take advantage of the better grip. It's going to be very interesting these last few laps.
I tell you what, it has to be a decision that you must almost never make as a race leader, the decision to willingly give up track possession at a track like Monaco. So I have no problems with Ivan's call. The question is, though, what is the result going to be? And yes, Lolo could play a very important part in the way this race win could be decided. Fleddy has been thrust right into the limelight here in Monaco. Started from P6 again, could have had a much better qualifying session, but did end up crashing out of that session. Now has a clear run at the top two, but can he find those moves? That is the question. We've seen how much trouble we've had, I think, with Sieb behind Mattia Manga earlier, and that was a car with damage, but we've got a much bigger tyre difference here, so that could be very key. And we did see that Triska was able to pressure Ivan in early laps and nearly get through at the Grand Hotel hairpin, even with front wing damage, which is no longer the case. So I think even though it's Monaco, I don't know if you agree, Ghost, and I would still, tentatively say that Ivan is still the favourite for this win, but it's far from a done thing keeping that pack of medium runners behind.
Oh, absolutely. And if Lolo gets dispatched relatively quickly, then Ivan's going to be in a world of trouble. But yeah, like you say, it's a tough situation. But if it was me, to be honest, if I was in Ivan's position, I would have stayed out as well. You just have to. You can't pit from the lead at a safety car. In Monaco, with so many drivers so close behind you, it's just it just doesn't. It doesn't feel right, because the drivers who have chosen to pit may well have stayed out, and then you're in a the position you yourself are in. And I think for me, I would rather be P1 with 20-lap-old hard tyres than P3 with 2-lap-old mediums, personally. But, you know, it's all on the driver's decisions here, and it's all about these last 10 laps that we're going to have. And we've only got 11 drivers left, so Zviadek at the moment is in the points. Mattia Manga, if it ended now, would be the only driver to not score points today who finished the race, which would be rather harsh, I have to say, in a race with so many DNFs. But there we have it. The safety car coming in this lap. Ivan Eskrig is going to lead us away. Can he get a good restart and get rid of Lolo and hope that the Ferrari holds up those medium runners?
The restart going to be so crucial. Ivan taking that wide line through Razkas just like he did last time around. Backs it up towards Anthony Nose. He's got to go soon, surely. Is he going to run this one up to the line? There he goes. Accelerates and gets onto the throttle pedal, and you can see the traction from Lolo, not the greatest, but he's able to respond and able to keep the cars behind him at bay. Geppo was pressuring Triska. He had a good restart as Fleddy does not get a good run. And a Santafon, and Triska looks one way and then the next tries to find one way through and towards Massenet, and Fleddy just about manages to cover him off. I think Fleddy expected to be attacking. Rather, he is defending from the pole setter, but he unable to quite find a way through. And now the assault will surely begin from the medium runners to the hard runners then. How could they endure on 21 lap old tyres here at Monaco? Lolo doesn't get a good run through Portier, and Fleddy is all over him. Look at this. Fleddy trying to pounce immediately, and the tunnel gets run out of road just about. Got a bit of the squeezing treatment from Lolo, the Ferrari driver, simply refusing to yield. But Fleddy is all over him, and that was one opportunity, surely will not be the last, but he has to be wary. Triska is all over him to the top four, oh so close, as they head through the treacherous swimming pool section with Ivan Eskrig leading. The restart has gone his way, but look at Fleddy looking for a lunge into Razkas as well. Nothing doing just yet, but he looks so threatening and menacing behind the Ferrari driver. They come over the line once again, 9 laps to go. Fleddy's had a couple of goes, but we're seeing how difficult it is proving to overtake, and he's already burned through a lot of the battery. Can he carve away past Lolo? At the moment, Lolo still standing strong.
It's going to be action all the way to the end, Daka. This is an absolute classic of a Monaco Grand Prix here in PSF3. Ivan Eskrig leads from Lolo. We've got an overtake though as Sieb and Gippo swapping positions. Gippo driving through the Mercedes, in fact, as he's ghosted at the moment. And you've got to take advantage when these things happen. And Gippo up to P5, is he? Oh, Sieb's still driving inside the Aston Martin as they go through the tunnel, but finally he yields, and Gippo in P5 now.
Oh, Triska!
Triska on the inside of IRT Fleddy. What a move from the Alpine driver who started from pole position. That is an absolutely astonishing overtake. I was just about to say that going down the chicane is one of the hardest places to overtake here of the overtaking opportunities because of the way the tunnel is. It's so hard to find that gap, but that is an absolutely outrageous move from Triska that is probably a contender already for overtake of the season. We're only halfway through. Unbelievable. And now he's going to be the one applying the pressure to Lolo in the Ferrari.
Oh my goodness, that is one of the bravest overtakes I have seen in my time commentating on PSF3. That was stunning, and look at him move again towards Mirabeau. Looks for another one, but this time Lolo's able to cover him off. He was squeezed onto such a tight line. Triska did not fancy it one bit, but look at the way the gap's just not open up, and Triska gets driver on the outside. Oh my goodness, Triska's level with Lolo, inside into Portier. How on earth has he got here? They come out of Portier still, side by side. Lolo does not want to yield this one bit, side by side through the tunnel. Triska has a nose ahead. Lolo has the inside line, breaks later, squeezes the Alpine off the track, and there's the penalty for Triska as they bang wheels and Mattia Manga out of the race. A VSC deployed. Triska gets it front, but at what cost? He has a penalty that may be able to get removed. We will see in the future. Mattia Manga gone. Which means that every car that does see the checkered flag now will score points. Ivan Eskrig now a full 3 seconds in front, decides to stay out. Oh my goodness, we are now coming up with 7 laps to go. Triska and Lolo, a fierce fight then. Again, we'll see about Triska's penalty, but Mattia Manga go, just 10 cars left in the race. Ghost, I barely know what to make of this anymore, but Triska does somehow find himself in P2 now.
Yeah, from my point of view, that penalty that warning anyway, will almost certainly be removed. Time will tell if he gets another one, but Triska will be very, very confident, I can assure you, that he will get that removed in stewards. So he will know that the win is still on here, and wow, what an intimidating way that is for Ivan Eskrig to watch on his timing screen on the left-hand side of his HUD. He'll see Triska in P4 when the safety car came in, thinking, okay, I'm at least safe from the guy who started on pole, and now here he is in second place after doing one of the bravest overtakes we've ever seen into the chicane on Fleddy, and now getting past Lolo as well. And what happened was Lolo, we've got under green flags again, so Triska will be after Ivan now, but Lolo hit the back of Ivan into the hairpin, and on the exit he just didn't get the drive as a result, and Triska found the inside and punished the mistake instantly, got himself on the inside. Lolo fought as hard as he dared, but there's just nothing he could do, and Triska up to second place, and already now right behind Ivan Eskrig on those medium tyres, and we're going to have 6 laps of breakneck action here, and it's not over for P3 either. Fleddy right behind the Ferrari, and Gippo's up there as well, although he does have that penalty, same for Sieb. And, well, as it stands, by the way, NLR Tom is going to finish in plumb last of the finishers and will only take away 1 point. So the championship as well, big implications in terms of the... Here we go, Triska right as we head down towards the Nouvelle chicane for the 34th time. Lolo defending from Fleddy as well. This is going to be absolutely brilliant, these last few laps.
That must be so intimidating for Ivan. You mentioned how Triska was able to carve his way from P4 to P2, but how quickly he chased down that gap of 2 seconds down to nothing in just half a lap. That is what Ivan Eskrig is putting up with then from the pole setter, who is all over him. Look, heading through Anthony Nose. There is now DRS. That rear wing flap is open. Can Ivan cover him off? Triska is on the overtake button towards Sandoval. There's no way through then. Ivan covers that one off, but can he cover off and get another one? Now, Ravage on the overtake button again, but again doing this straight, which curves from right to left. As look at this, for third, they're side by side. Fleddy trying to go round the outside of Massenet. There's contact, they bang wheels. The Ferrari, though, loses out. He tries to carve another opportunity in towards Mirabeau. No way through, and Fleddy is up to P3 on the road with a stunner then, and another fierce fight between those two. Fleddy now runs into position number 3 as there's contact through Portier between Ivan Eskrig and Triska. Triska again on the overtake button. He is relentlessly charging after that V-carb, but Ivan just far enough ahead at the moment. He may not know.
On the inside of Nouvelle, he makes the move on the Ferrari. He gets through. Lolo might feel he forced him off, but Gippo is ahead into P4, and Lolo loses 2 positions in 1 lap in Monaco just from pure overtakes. This is incredible. No one can convince me that the Monaco Grand Prix is boring. Look at this. Gippo up to P4. Lolo now under pressure from the other Mercedes of Sieb as they head towards turn 1. Ivan Eskrig under huge pressure. Fleddy is already caught up to the top 2, and it's going to be a 3, maybe 4 car battle as Gippo will join the party as well. In the last 4 laps for the race win, Triska on the outside of Messier as they head towards Casino, but he backs out just before the braking zone, and Fleddy has to watch and wait and hope this all goes wrong so he can carve his way through and win the race. But Ivan Eskrig under so much pressure, and Triska is just trying to make the most of those mediums, but they're gonna be falling off a little bit soon, although those hards are 27 laps old, so it may not matter anyway as they head towards Nouvelle. Here comes Triska. He's using the overtake button. He's gonna look to the inside and do the same thing he did earlier, but no, not this time. Lolo gets overtaken again towards Nouvelle, and he's down to P6. Sieb into P5 now, and the top 5 are all within a second of each other. Briefly, Gippo drops out of it, but he'll soon get straight back into it, and this is absolutely phenomenal here in Monaco. 3 laps to go at the end of this one, and I have no idea who's going to win. That is incredible. Not something you say every day on a Monaco race.
Take a breath, Ghost. Here comes Tristan to the outside, heading in towards Sandoval. There's no way through. Can he get the switch back like he had done to him at the start? They go wheel to wheel for the race lead. Up Boravage towards Massey. The nose in front for Triska. Can he see it round the outside? Yes, he can, or does he? He clouts against the wall, but he's in front. Oh my goodness, Triska finally gets it done. Here comes Fleddy, looking to try and follow through. There's nothing doing there, and Ivan has done all he could to cover it off. But in the end, as it was at the start, this time, fortune's repaid. That switchback out of Sandoval proving to be pivotal, and through goes Triska for an astonishing race lead. Now he may be able to even win this outright, even with the penalty, may not even to get it removed. Can Fleddy do something about that though? Fleddy towards the Nouvelle Chicane. Ivan Eskrig so late on the brakes is able to cover that one off and hold on to P2. He's driven absolutely superbly and will feel as though he's been wronged out there, and he maybe feel as though he deserves this race win. But Triska nevertheless has that advantage out there, and Ivan doing all he can to hold on back in front. We now have, coming up now, 2 laps to go. I'm having to try and catch my breath in between each sentence because it's so relentless out there. This Monaco Grand Prix proving to be probably the race of the season. Up to this point is, oh my goodness, Ivan Esbrich gets a time penalty himself. How vital could that be as pressure has mounted inside the final 2 laps? Picks up that time penalty, and any hopes of the race win at this point seem to be dashed at this point for the Spaniards.
And well, Fleddy is now going to be thinking, maybe I can win this race, probably not knowing the likelihood of Triska getting his penalty removed. Once I hand back to you, Daka, I'll check the warnings for Triska and see if he's had any more since then. But this is absolutely breakneck stuff. Fleddy now putting the pressure on Ivan, and Ivan actually hasn't lost as much time to Triska as I thought he would. He's still only 1.3 behind. Clearly those mediums not at their best anymore, even against the 29-lap old Hards. Nick out of the race. Oh no, he'll still be classified, he'll still get a point, but it's a breath for NLR Tom, as it's an extra point for him, so he'll be happy to salvage that. Triska nearly into the wall, by the way, at Raskas himself. He just outbraked himself there and nearly ruined his own race on the penultimate lap, but he survives, and it's Ivan Eskrig now fighting away IRT Fleddy, who's not close enough on the run towards turn 4, and it's just nothing he can do. Gippo is just behind as well with his penalty. Sieb trying to stay with him, and Lolo still there in P6. He hasn't lost as much time either. Definitely those mediums coming a cropper now at this point in the last couple of laps, although Lolo has a big tap of the wall there through Mirabeau, but he's just about fine. And 1.1 seconds, he will still get P4 from this one after the penalties ahead. But yeah, that's a shame for Nick, but he will still at least salvage a point on this final lap. It's Triska who leads,
and maybe could even win this outright. We shall see. He's about 2.5 seconds clear of IRT Fleddy, so we'll see how that one is going to end up. But Triska, well, we questioned the strategy call, but look at how things have turned out.
He does have 4 warnings.
He has 4 warnings. Well, this could be a grandstand finish in that case then. Fleddy could still salvage this. Triska pushing for all of his worth. He needs now to win this by a margin of 3 seconds. It's going to be oh so close. Watch this on the line. Triska comes over the line. Does Fleddy snatch it from him? No! He just misses it. What was the margin? 32 thousandths of a second. Absolutely astonishing. Thank you so much, Ghost, for that communication. We are treated to a finish beyond our wildest dreams, and in the end, by virtually nothing, Triska is going to take away his second win of the season, and somehow one probably even more dramatic than his first win. Wow, and well, I have to say, it's another heartbreak for IRT Fleddy, who comes oh so close to the win once again. But there you go, Triska seeing it through. We thought this race may be slipping away from him at so many points. We questioned the tyre decision at the start that cost him the advantage from that pole position. He looked virtually out of it. Safety cars may have given him something of a lifeline, but he had to carve it out with some of the bravest overtakes I've ever seen in my time commentating league racing, and he wins. Well, let's see the margin once again when it pops up on the screen. Actually, well, I can't see anything, but it was 32 thousandths of a second, Ghost. I have never seen anything like it.
Unbelievable, absolutely incredible Monaco Grand Prix. That is what you want to see. And by the way, as well, Lolo just 70 thousandths of a second away from the podium as well in the end. So just astonishing from start to finish. It was a breakneck, but especially towards the end, that second safety car, it produced non-stop, unbelievable action. And in the end, it was Triska who started this race from pole position, but looked on the back foot for the large majority of this race in comparison to Ivan Eskrig. But he manages to salvage it in the end and still take the race win. I mean, that is just an incredible drive. And we saw him having a brilliant drive in Canada as well to take a dark horse win there. But here in Monaco, he was the favourite at the start, and then he was far from the favourite for most of the race, and then came back at the end on those medium tyres. An unbelievably brave overtake on Fleddy. And if I was to point to any moment that won Triska this race, it would be that overtake, because he got past Fleddy. He managed to get Lolo shortly after as well, but it was getting past the guy who was on the same tyres as him. That is what did it, and that's what won him an absolutely memorable Monaco Grand Prix that I'm sure he will never forget for the rest of his league racing career, because I wouldn't if I was him.
No, I'm actually quite jealous. I've never had such a moment as that, such a win as that in league racing. I will say I've been commentating league racing for about 6 years now, and that is one of the very best races I've ever had the privilege of commentating on. And again, sometimes, we said, oh, Monaco, yeah, it's a unique spectacle, but you don't expect much wheel-to-wheel racing. We saw some unbelievable overtakes in that race from not just Triska but multiple other drivers. I think that is a race I may want to watch back in my free time just to reminisce once again. It was absolutely stunning. For Triska, by the way, that will move him up to third place in the championship standings. I'm not sure if he got fastest lap. I'm actually not sure who fastest lap went to in the end, but he did get the win and he did get pole position, so that's at least 17 points, pushing him up to 47 and pushing him, well, maybe not into the immediate title fight as of yet, but, well, if he is going to crawl into the title fight, that is a race that is certainly going to be looked back on. Of course, we saw, well, if you look at some of the other title contenders, well, the other top 5 drivers in the standings, Ivan Eskrig, who we saw being the favourite for the win so long, and you'd have to say if it wasn't for that penalty in the last couple of laps, that race win would have been his. So cruelly denied in the end, but he finishes in third place on the day. Tom, who, well, an evening to forget in many ways, he does finish with 8th place, which, well, I think he will take, given the circumstances and how dire it had looked for him at certain points throughout the race. Alex Marciano, of course, will still remain on 70 points, having not turned up for this race. I think he would have expected his championship lead to get slashed far more than it did today, but certainly not a race that we're going to forget anytime soon in terms of the way it is shaped this season. It has changed the complexity of this season, and, well, I hope that the second half of the races that are to come in Season 38 of PSF3 are going to be anything at all like that one.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're all like that, I mean, bring it on. That's just brilliant stuff from start to finish, but especially the finish. Just so good. It was unpredictable. I mean, when can you ever say in a Monaco Grand Prix, 2 laps from the end, that you're not sure whether any one of 3 or 4 drivers is going to win when it's not decided by penalties? It was in the end, but even so, just astonishing. Absolutely brilliant race, and one neither of us will forget for a long time. And yeah, like you said, the championship has changed. Well, not quite as dramatically as you might expect from a result like that, just because of how far back Ivan and Triska were in the championship, but they're a lot closer now. And suddenly, Alex and Tom, it looked like that they were going to be the two big favourites for this championship. We go into the second half of the season now with Ivan and Triska not quite hot on their heels yet, but certainly they're a big threat. And Alex and Tom, ignore them at your peril, because they have just gotten better and better since the start as well, both of them. And yeah, they're going to be right up there as the season progresses. Lolo will be disappointed to finish off the podium today, and he's a little further back still, but if things go wrong for the drivers in front, as they have done for Ivan and Triska already this season, then he could find himself making up positions as well. But it's all about those five, I think. Fleddy is a little way off. That second place will have helped, but yeah, those five, I think, are our main protagonists, at least at the halfway stage of season 38.
We still have half a season left, and God knows how many twists and turns that could take. That next round to kick off that second half of the season will be from, well, another one of F1's mainstays, another absolutely iconic track steeped in history. That is the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so make sure not to miss that. Well, if there was any kind of advertisement for PSGL PSF3, that was it right there, that race we've just been treated to at Monaco, so make sure to tune in for that. Quick thank you again for GT Omega for making this possible, and again they're in the description down below. Make sure to put in the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. But I think at last that is going to wrap things up. I think myself and Ghost are both very exhausted, but we're going to have our own debrief, and I think one that's going to be quite lengthy, because I think we were both losing our minds towards the end of that race. But yes, I think that is going to be just about it for tonight's action. So for myself and Ghost, it is thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.